Hey guys, how's it going? And today I have Belfast replay for you, and the player we are watching is Colonel Luke. Now, you might be asking, why does this screen look so weird? Well, looks like about a minute and a half into this game, Colonel Luke got disconnected right in front of the cap, and now he's back. And which is very lucky because that Cleveland just came within detection range of him. Thankfully, his main batteries are ready to go. And yeah, I'm gonna guess he has IFHE because these high explosive shells throughout the match do considerable damage to all these enemy ships. And, you know, IFHE is just such a great thing for this ship. But of course, armor piercing on a broadside Cleveland will do just as good, possibly searching for a citadel here. That'd be really nice to take him out. There's one, not quite enough to kill him, but the fires will finish him off. Now we have a Graf Spee coming in. That's actually kind of a threat because the Graf Spee has battleship guns and decent battleship armor. But of course, if he's not really going to press the advantage and not shoot the broadside Belfast, he's just going to get punished for sitting there. It does look like he's decided to move though, and the enemy team has decided to start poking at Colonel Luke. Oh, now he's firing. What's he firing? He's firing high explosive at a broadside light cruiser. Oh boy. His ship may have a heel, but he's taking quite the pounding. And if he's gonna go broadside like that, Luke is gonna show him what armor piercing does. And looks like he just barely squeezed those shots over the island, getting a citadel on that German cruiser. And you'll see that I may call my destroyer gameplay twitchy, but Colonel Luke and his Belfast is definitely a lot twitchier than that. But it's not a bad thing as he citadels that poor Emerald. It's not a bad thing because it keeps him very tactically aware and lets him kind of view his surroundings and see where his shots are going. Right now he's trying to see what that Graf Spee is doing on the other side of the island. Did have armor piercing loaded. It's not going to do a ton to the bow of that Graf. But now the high explosive is coming out. Graf does have very good torpedo angles, so if that guy decides to look this way, he may be trying to launch torpedoes. Though it looks like he just noticed that Luke's Belfast was here and is now trying to engage. Of course, still firing high explosive, he's not really going to do anything, especially since he can't seem to hit. And there's his torpedoes. Ooh, that one's going to look close. And we managed to scrape by with a Belfast. Pretty good maneuverability. Now what else do we got to chase down? We have an Emerald out here still. He wants to go broadside, so as he disappears from the map, Luke decides to switch to armor piercing. Sadly, at the same time, the Emerald decides to, you know, turn, angle his ship, and mitigate any damage coming his way because he's basically standing against the part of Luke's team that is actually able to do anything this match. The rest of his team's kind of running away, and they're down, or I shouldn't say they're down a cap, but they're definitely down in points because they haven't capped anything, whereas the enemy team has Bravo and is capping Charlie and have a very massive presence around Charlie. But where is that Emerald going? He's trying to make his escape out of here, and he's trying to go find the enemy tier 7 battleships. But he might not have a lot of luck if he keeps popping in and out of view. Ooh, those shells might hit. The Emerald's a pretty maneuverable cruiser, and the Belfast accuracy doesn't do it justice when the enemy ships are turning. Oh, there's a good hit. About 2,000 per hit. It went off twice, sorry. So about 4,000 damage and a fire going off. So if we can get another fire on that Emerald, he's just going to continue burning, and there goes his steering, and he doesn't have a repair for that, and there's a fire, just adding insult to injury. So now he's just getting pounded, both by Luke and the whole team behind Luke. Did go out of detection range, but of course that fire is still on him, and shells are still raining down. Of course, if that fire does go out, most likely he would have repaired his engine too. There's an enemy shores over here somewhere, and that's a little bit more of a threat because it has very high velocity guns and have a lot they have a lot more penetration than, say, that Emerald over there. Especially since the Shores is a tier 7 cruiser with torpedoes, I should add, versus that Emerald, which is a tier 5. And that looks like it might be a good hit. 4 Citadels, 3 over penetrations, nuking the rest of that Emerald, and claiming Luke's right to that kill. Shores has just come around the side of the island. High explosive is loaded. He discharges all of that into the front of the ship, scoring about 3,000 damage. Armor piercing might not do a lot in this situation though. And since Luke did beach himself, he has decided to pop his first smoke screen of the gate and basically try to escape the fire of the Shores as he goes broadside to back off this island. Of course, if that Shores is just going to sit bow on, he's going to continue popping high explosive into the front of his ship, and that Shores is going to eat a torpedo. Can't repair the fire, can't really repair the flooding from that torpedo either, but the Molotov takes him out. So that's pretty useful. That's a pretty dangerous tier 7 down. I say dangerous in the regards that Luke is in a very lightly armored ship, and the Shores is pretty good about deleting those if it gets a good shot on them, especially broadside like Luke was. So, where should we go next? There's an Akatsuki off to his right that's not spotting him because the Belfast does have a very low detection radius, but it will be a threat to the smoke as it can drop torpedoes into this. But of course, all the enemy team's battleships are crossing in front of Luke right now, and that makes some pretty tasty targets for some fires and some high explosive penetrations. So it's basically a matter of who does Luke want to shoot at first. Definitely looks like he's pushing the Bravo cap, trying to get the points back in his team's favor, as they're kind of suffering in points due to basically being even in ship kills. The enemy team has lost a lot of cruisers, but it still holds basically all their battleships. And it's not working out too great for Luke's team here. But it looks like the enemy team's not too keen on pushing back and trying to retake Bravo, I guess, as they're really focused on trying to kill that King George V that's way back behind the island in spawn. And the Königsberg back there must be putting up a pretty good fight to annoy these guys too. 30 seconds on Luke's smoke. There's a very, very tasty Nelson over there. Nelson is a tier 7 premium British battleship, but it does have the super heal that the tier 9 and 10 have. So it can basically regenerate 3/4 of its health with the press of a button. So that's not something we're going to burn down quickly. But it is a very threatening ship nonetheless. There's a Colorado way back in sea. Doesn't really have a clue what's going on, I'm guessing. But smoke's up, Nelson's still in view. So here comes fire and death. And there's the first fire. And that's going to be pretty key on slowly picking away at this Nelson. So there's another 3,500 damage roll. Let's see how many more of those we can get on the Nelson's lightly armored hull and the superstructure that's on that ship. So there's another 3,000 damage and a fire. And he's not putting those fires out yet. He is calling for his team to kill the Belfast as Luke rolls 6,000 damage into his superstructure. Oh boy. He is just getting ripped to shreds by Luke's Belfast right now. And he has put out the fires. Of course, if he's going to stay within range and sight of Luke, that's not going to matter because Luke's still doing about 6,000 damage on average. Or I should say 3,000 damage on average, 6,000 at max. And the Belfast is notorious for its ability to light fires from stealth. So, I don't think this Nelson's going to be too happy when he gets set on fire again. And there's one. Not a lot of damage there, but still got a fire on that poor Nelson. And now the Colorado's decided to cross. He must have noticed the torpedoes from the destroyer and decided to get out of town. But he's going to make a really, really good target for Luke's Belfast. Of course, another fire got set on that Nelson, so he's burning in 2 spots now. And that Colorado's also burning, but he is broadside, so Luke is doing the right thing. and spamming the armor piercing at his superstructure area. At least until that guy, you know, decides to damage control the 2 fires on the rear of his ship. Armor piercing not doing a lot in some of these situations though, which isn't quite a good thing. There's the Confederate award though, and that's going to be pretty, or I shouldn't say it's going to be pretty useful since it's not really going to do much, but it's going to definitely add to the list of rewards that Luke is going to get at the end of this battle. So 167,000 damage so far, and this game's not really close to being over. Luke's team is still down on points. He is detected and the Scharnhorst has decided to shoot at him, but the Scharnhorst loaded high explosive, and Luke's high explosive is doing a lot more than that Scharnhorst is. Nelson's pretty pissed at him, shooting back, still missing. And Luke is just laying into the Scharnhorst, sets another fire, pops his smoke to get out of the detection radius of these 3 battleships, and just continues going to town on that Tier 7 premium German battleship. The Scharnhorst is still looking for a shot on him, but unless he feels like taking a blind shot into smoke, he won't be finding a target anytime soon, and there's some decent damage with the armor piercing. Nelson's still trying to blind shot, not getting too much done there. 4,000 damage from the armor piercing shells. Another fire got set on him and he's turning back in. So Luke switched back to high explosive. He's going to start peppering the bow of that ship with it. And sadly, unlike the contemporaries in the British line, the Belfast does not have torpedoes, so he can't really do anything if that Scharnhorst decides to get too close. But it does look like the Scharnhorst tried to torpedo the smoke. He does have 6-kilometer torpedoes, but he's missing wildly. And he will be getting taken down by Luke's high explosive. So, there's one pretty big threat erased. Now that Colorado's still sailing around the back of sea. He's probably the biggest... I don't want to say he's the biggest threat right now since it is a Colorado and he doesn't really seem to know what's going on in this battle. But he's the biggest objective threat, I should say, because he's the only one in position that's really able to push any cap zones. The destroyer is off in the middle of nowhere, hasn't been spotted in a while. The Colorado is really the only battleship slash cruiser capable of getting into a cap zone anytime soon, though I'm not entirely sure if he wants to get anywhere near this Mutsuki. Of course, the smoke just ran out, briefly spotted by something, but I think it disappeared. The Nelson is backing off the island way the hell over there. Of course, if he's going to be sitting still, Luke's going to take advantage of that and give him a few more fires to think about. Of course, the Nelson will be getting a shot back off, will be hitting Luke with a fire, but with the Cleveland out of range and the Akatsuki in A, it's not really much of a threat. Because unless he gets another fire on him from the Nelson, who is behind the island now, nothing's really going to happen. The only real threat now is that Colorado. And he just got spotted directly in front of Luke's bow. That's not a good situation. Remember, I said Belfast is a light cruiser. If that Colorado could hit, which it didn't there, thanks to a little bit of clever driving from Luke, it'd actually do a decent amount of damage. Of course, with his guns reloading and torpedoes from the Mutsuki forcing his attention away, Luke's just going to start lighting up this poor guy. And, yeah, it's not going to end too well for that Colorado. It does look like he's going to dodge the torpedoes, which would have been nice to take off a little bit of his health. Here comes the armor piercing. Oh, that's going to hurt. That was a large amount of damage going off on Luke's ship, and definitely not something he wants to see when he's one of 3 ships remaining on his team. Yeah. Hopefully, he can kill this Colorado before he reloads, so that he doesn't get nuked to oblivion, and that fire's definitely going to help. I don't think the Colorado can damage control that, and he looks like he reload. Come on, Belfast, turn. The fire's going to finish off the Colorado, and he only got 1 light hit on the Belfast, so that's extremely good. Though, Luke's only at 7,500 health, So he's definitely not going to be fighting head to head with that Nelson anytime soon. And close quarters with that Cleveland is definitely not going to be something he's going to favor. And it does look like that destroyer has pushed both from A now into B, and looks like he's basically doing a cap sweep, trying to gain back points for his team. So now Luke's going to start engaging Cleveland since it's really pushing on his friendly Mutsuki. And he didn't get spotted when he fired the first time, but he'll definitely get spotted now. Mutsuki missed all the torpedoes, that Cleveland sailing full steam towards the cap, and Luke has to stop him from basically getting in this cap and stopping any point game for his team. But it looks like the shells are lagging pretty hard right here, not aiming quite far enough ahead to hit this guy, and looks like the Cleveland is finally taking notice. There's a fire on the Cleveland, a little bit of damage going off there. Some shots coming in from him, probably some from the Nelson too, and there's a fire on Luke's Belfast. That's not good at this low of health, because if he damage controls and gets set on fire again, he's probably dead. And thankfully he saved it because he got lit on fire and popped it immediately. Last smoke going out right here. Cleveland's still firing shots back at him, and he's rolling high explosive shots into the side of this Cleveland. Destroyer shot him from the back, leaving him at perilously low health. One shot from any of these ships to the right place in the smoke will kill him, and it looks like they're all trying. Come on, we have to take out this Cleveland. He has to go down sometime soon. Torpedoes coming in from the destroyer, looks like they're a little far ahead. The Cleveland is set on fire in 3 places and will be going down. Now where's that destroyer? There he is. The radar has spotted him, and he's making a beeline for the sea cap. But the Belfast is a very good anti-destroyer cruiser. And yeah, there's 4,500 damage. And a fire, so he doesn't have damage control. There's 3,000 damage, and will he squeeze a shot over this island? It looks like some of it's barely gonna miss. And a little bit of light damage, and the destroyer steering is now taken out. Now, what's left on the friendly team? We have a Scharnhorst over at A, we have a Mutsuki, and we have a very perilously low health Benson. Now Luke is going to take a risk right here. He's firing onto the Nelson, trying to get a fire. The enemy destroyer has slipped into the cap zone, and Luke's going to take a risk and push out of the smoke, hopefully detect this destroyer from basic spotting range. And it looks like the destroyer's trying to pop smoke is detected, will not be in time, and Luke takes him out, earning his Kraken. Then the destroyer shots land and kill his Belfast. So a very sad end, but there is something to notice. His damage is still going up. While he was killing that destroyer, he set the Nelson on fire. So that Nelson was still burning. He's not burning anymore, obviously. And his team's capping A, they have C, and the Nelson's trying to charge down that Mutsuki. Scharnhorst not doing a whole lot over here. But thankfully the game is timing out, so that Mutsuki will not have to die to that Nelson's guns, or, you know, death charge him with torpedoes. So yeah, 300,000, or almost 302,000 damage in that entire match. And what's special about that other than being a huge amount of damage for a tier 7 in a tier 7 match? And I'll tell you why that's important in a second. But that's a world record. The previous world record for the Belfast was 266,000 damage. Colonial Luke, or Jesus, I fucking butchered that. Colonel Luke has blasted past that by 40,000 damage and has basically achieved record status over the whole world, unless somebody hasn't, you know, added in their Belfast stats to World of Warships numbers. And the real reason that's special is it wasn't an up-tiered match. It wasn't like he was dealing with tier 9s with huge amounts of health and he was just sitting there being smoked up and firing on them constantly. He was in a tier 7 match with a lot of tier 6 and 5 ships, so there was a small health pool for him to deal with there. So he definitely did most of the damage to that enemy team and absolutely crushed them. As per the end screens, yeah, almost 302,000 damage, Confederate high caliber, Kraken unleashed, 7 citadels, which for a light cruiser is pretty damn good, 21 fires over that entire game, and 5 cap defense along with 1 capture. So he definitely put in some work to carry his team, and the team list definitely shows that, with him earning almost 4,000 base experience. Yeah, that is rather freaking absurd. So absolutely amazing job to Colonel Luke here, and just crushing it with his Belfast. He should be very proud of earning that world record in his Belfast, and knowing that he carried this game in order to do that. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you next time, and good luck out there.